up here in just a little bit. We'll take
We're about to go. Here we go, everybody. Hit that like, share the show. Dun, dun, dun. I got a request for the original theme song, so this goes out to you.
What you're going to see now is 100% proof. What?
I'm telling you straight. It's my way or the highway. So anybody wants to walk through now.
Tried to hook up wire to copper, and it can't be done.
All right, let's get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's Hal Sparks, Megaworldwide. Mike is on. We're all good. You're there. I'm there. Chat room. Hi, chat room. I'm going to bring us over to a bigger chat room so I can see you guys. Good to see you. Sorry, I'm starting a little bit late today. I took my mom and kid to go see Jurassic World something or other, Jurassic Park 9, whatever it is. We had a great conversation about this idea in the movie that somehow people would get bored of real dinosaurs and want genetically modified one, or no one would go to the park anymore. So weird. We'll talk about that. Hi. Yeah, no problem. So we'll be talking about the BBB, which, of course, by the way, Trump calling it the big, beautiful bill. It didn't occur to me till recently that he did this because of the Build Back Better, that they wanted to do their own BBB. He wanted to take that away from Biden, which he couldn't do, which is weird. You know, again, real material infrastructure stuff will be built even going forward because of the BBB and because of the Infrastructure Act and all that kind of stuff, right? Whereas you're going to see a bunch of like reconciliation patchwork that Republicans are going to have to do. Yeah. So no GMO dinosaurs. Yeah, that's a problem. So we're going to look at what they think of it. Because this might surprise a bunch of you, and it certainly seems a bit of an odd fixation to me. But according to the right-wingers that did not like this bill, the ones that were supposedly going to vote against it, or the people at least pushing them to do that on right-wing media, apparently, this is a huge win for Democrats. Yeah, you heard that right. That by it not eliminating all funding for transgender surgeries or Medicaid, like not making the most draconian cut, all the things that the Senate threw in that the House had to swallow, these were really things, and you heard it, I think yesterday when people would talk about the uniparty made these changes as opposed to the Republicans in the Senate. Never mind the fact that they consider a lot of uniparty decisions, and I think there's a lot of what have you industrial complex absurdity that gets thrown around when people are talking about generalized things that have to happen, that either of them don't like, or they don't like the party that has to carry it out, it must be about, it must be the uniparty that's doing it. What about Medicaid? Okay, so we'll look at the cuts in Medicaid. Obviously, Medicaid is not gone, but there will be limitations on it. And what they're going to have to do is they put other funding in the Senate to shore up rural hospitals. So it'll be at least a few years before they, they start to collapse. And what they'll do is they'll patch this up. So this is how this is how I think. And then we'll look at it, because I've got a video that supposedly Mike Johnson explains how he brought people on board. Okay. And we'll look at what they're saying. Here's my feeling on it. Most of the more draconian stuff they have in this bill is punted and doesn't start for 2 years. Starts right after the midterms next time. And a bunch of those changes will be the most damaging and will take time to get even worse, okay? So what they're hoping is this will pass. Democrats in particular, will tell you what's awful about it, and then that shit's not going to happen for a while. And so they'll go, maybe they were lying to me about this. And then perhaps, if for some reason, as is normal, the tide shifts and the Democrats take the House and stuff, they won't have enough of a mandate. The Democrats won't in the House. They certainly won't be able to pass something that Trump has to sign. So maybe they pass something in the House, it gets bounced down by the Senate, or Trump refuses to sign it or whatever. But they can blame that stuff after the midterms on Democrats if they take over, is the idea. If they take over, they're going to have to patch it themselves. And what you're going to see is a bunch of reconciliation patchwork around this to pretend they passed the big thing, and then slowly behind the scenes culling and cutting back on those cuts, because it's going to affect red states the worst. So let's take a look at this or whatever. Here's what I want to say to everybody. There is a crisis to this. These are very important things and affect very real people, but it's not an emergency. That's different. An emergency is something's right in front of you and you've got to do CPR on it, or that's that. And you need to be able to tell the difference so you can pace yourself and recognize the threat that exists. And you've got to be able to do stuff around it. So what you're going to really want to do if you want to help, it's going to require, I'm going to be volunteering at more charities over the next couple of years than I've had time for up till now, because they're going to need it. And we got to change the electoral count in the House and the Senate. Is Michigan a blue state? Yeah, it normally is. Absolutely. So, again, there is, and I would also like to say that the damage that is done by this and this vote itself did not happen today. It happened on November 5th. The same thing with women losing their right to choose in a bunch of states and allowing states to track women's periods and limit their reproductive care. That didn't happen on the day SCOTUS kicked it out. That happened in 2016 when a bunch of people shrugged off the election of Donald Trump. And the lesson from this should be, don't let that happen again. To actually vote consistently and stick with it. Because otherwise, this is how it's going to work. They're going to just wiggle this lever back and forth. Democrats are going to come in and try to right it, and then Republicans are going to come in and undo it. It's our responsibility to have some legs in this situation, right? Every election counts. That's exactly right. And I don't give a shit about people's language, jargon, wording, shibboleth nonsense anymore. I don't. Anybody selling it on they don't sound exactly like me? Nope. Red to purple, purple to blue. That's our only job. Actual, specific policy created by elected individuals. Because if you don't, you don't care. Just saying. And I know I'm ice skating uphill here. I know I'm one of the few voices that pushes that. And I'm not going to change. Because it's more than ever. I think there's a chance that some people might realize that by not participating or throwing their vote away or being half-assed about it the entire time, they participated in this situation, right? I bet ICE will get reform in the future. No question, if Democrats are elected. No question. Doesn't mean we won't cover the border will be insecure. Doesn't mean that people who shouldn't be here won't get deported as per usual. But do you want somebody who will do that with honor and respect? Or do you want somebody who will just blindly round everybody up because they can't tell the difference between anybody, right? Because that's the issue. Thanks, Trucker John, for the raid. That's the issue that I have, is that this kind of like coin flip. And that's what I said it all during the election, and I feel like I shouldn't even have to, but it should go without saying that in a situation where you find yourself making a decision that's between the lesser of two evils, choose less evil. Every time. Patriot Act is an oxymoron? No, I would argue that it is ironically right. It was an act. Wasn't an oxymoron at all. And we find ourselves in this situation because of decisions made by people that are allegedly on our side of the aisle, allegedly, have the same ideas we have or the same desires as we have specifically. Hold on. How are you worried about all the money ICE gets, secret police? No. Because, again, they're going to be spinning their wheels and they're going to end up rescinding some of the money. They're going to build facilities with it and they're going to be half empty. I'm not worried about that. And I'm not going to turn into like, oh, my God, FEMA camps like Alex Jones all of a sudden because it's him. He's going to shit the bed. He didn't get smarter because this bill got passed. I'm telling you. And they're digging a hole for themselves financially that they're going to have to answer to their constituents. It's going to cost 10 or 12 Republicans their seats, period. And it is our responsibility as Democrats to make it cost all of them. If you can't make them flip the seat, then you need them to all be so damaged by in the electoral count in their district by this vote that they have to start listening to the other side of their constituency, otherwise they won't make it. You turn red districts purple, purple districts blue. If you're in a blue district, you don't get points for turning it bluer. Sorry. Not now. Not in this situation. Every single Democrat voted against this shit. Every one of them. But my Fettermans, no. They all voted against it. That's the material reality. That's what I care about. I don't give a shit what kind of hat you wear. I don't care if you shake hands with the wrong person or whatever. When it comes down to your vote, that's what's going to make me decide. And I will take anybody who will vote with us 85% of the time than ever with Donald Trump. Forget it. And the idea that it is somehow a toss-up ever between Democrats and Republicans, especially in this day and age, is just fucking ridiculous. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. All the people that are going to lose their Medicaid, and find themselves in danger this is 100% the fault of the Republicans who voted for it and the posers who didn't, who went along with it all the way. And the people who didn't vote for Harris when they would have otherwise voted Democrat or switched parties or didn't vote at all or voted for Jill Stein or fucking wrote something in. This is on them too. And I have no problem vote shaming at all. Because this is the result. This is what happens. This ship set sail in November. Just like the fight over women's rights set sail in 2016. Can you undo it? Absolutely. But you gotta stand up. You gotta stand for something for a long time. You can't vacillate. And if there are people who are vacillating, if there are people who are back and forth about this, either if they're low information voters, then it's our fault if they vote the wrong way. If they're really just lying because they're George W. Bush and Trump voters who pretend to be independents, fuck them. Barking up the wrong tree. Fake independents. Silly. Like libertarians. Right? But if you flipped over, this is on you. That's the reality of this. Yeah, don't panic, plan. Absolutely. And it'll take 100 acts of goodness to make up for one big bad act. And there's a bunch of those in this bill. So we are going to have to do things on a state level in, responding to these things as they happen. Medicaid cuts start middle of next year and further into that. DOJ has been making cuts and changes in the system that people are going to feel sooner. But the big ones don't happen till then. And they're hoping that people forget that the bill is the reason. And that will be our responsibility to remind them, here they come. These are the cuts. They lit this wick today. And we need to remind everybody, this bomb is coming. And when the bomb arrives, they're going to tell you they have no idea who set it off. And it will be our responsibility, yours and mine, to remind them when this bomb was, when the timer was set. Right? How about Social Security? Well, Social Security is not going to change at all because they don't have the ability to change that under a reconciliation bill. They can't do anything that changes Social Security under reconciliation. It takes 60 votes. So the biggest problem, honest to God, that Republicans are going to worry about from this is the debt. Because they've just jacked this up. They have just added $5 trillion minimum over the next 2 years to the debt, period. And Trump will spend every dime. I didn't say it wouldn't pass. I said that in this fight back and forth, they would lose votes for everyone they cast, and they did. But that's the issue. We don't have control of this. All they needed was, there's a hair's breadth margin, but they managed to do it. And again, there were a bunch of people saying it's obvious that Republicans, no matter what they say, will always fall in behind Trump, right? So, all right, let's take a look at something real quick. This is, here you go. This is the whole thing with Mike Johnson. Speaker Mike Johnson explains how he got GOP holdouts to vote for the big, beautiful bill.
Okay, sorry for all the chaos. That was kind of fun. A couple questions.
Also, real quick, this happens when there are elections as well. Did I read the bill? I didn't have time to read the entire thing because they changed it right up to the vote. But I read big chunks of it. And there's so many holes in it, that will be a problem as well. Here's what I would like to say. This is like when an election happens. When an election happens, people often talk about we won the race, we won the presidency, we won our candidate won. Okay, as if there are points scored back and forth, and it wasn't just a job interview, and that's what it effectively is. And every election is a job interview, and you got the job, now you got to do the job. The same thing is true of this bill. It barely got over the line. It is the Hegseth of legislation. Now that it's enacted, it has to perform, and it will not. Fuse, not wick. Well, the idea is, I agree. Lit the fuse. So in this particular instance, they're going to tout it, but as it works its way through the system and stuff starts happening, those elements that break down or don't work are going to start showing. They didn't that, and you can't let them go, well, we won, so that's part of the win. No. If you fail, an act does that. There's a reason why the name matters. An act, it does things. It is enacted. There are things that are carried out. And it's not like you just got over a finish line, you broke the ribbon first, or you got a three-pointer at the buzzer. The act constantly does things. And as it does these things, it will be our responsibility to point out that the cause of this damage is from these things and to fix them on the state level or in districts as best we can until that happens,
real quick,
until we can remedy them.
Yes.
Yesterday there were 4 holdouts. I think she's just asking how many, how you got them to change.
Yeah, so the question, you didn't hear it, it's kind of loud in here. The question was, how did we get the holdouts to yes? So my leadership style is I try to be a servant leader. And as I mentioned earlier, I know what every member of this body, every member of this conference brings to the table. And And the leader's job is to bring out everybody's best and get them to their highest and best use, and that takes some time. So what happened procedurally, not to get too deep in the weeds, but we got the Senate modifications to the House bill. Now we're really proud because the big beautiful bill, 85 to 90% of it is the original House product that we ourselves drafted over the course of more than a year.
Also, by the way, that's a lie. They didn't just like take away, they sent them 100%, and the Senate took away 80%, or took away 20%. The Senate took away some stuff and added another 10% of other things. So again, it was a shuffle of those things, not just we cut it down, because there's a lot of things in there that the Senate, chipped away at.
When we went to the Senate, of course.
Allegedly. Again, what they ended up, I swear to God, if you walked up and go, by the way, you just made Spanish the language of America, it's in the bill, they'd go, oh, fuck me. Like they don't know what they voted for. I'm telling you.
As the other chamber is apt to do, they made some changes. They sent it over to us. We didn't have it for a lot of time. And so some members wanted to go really deep in the weeds on the changes, and they wanted to fully understand what those amendments were and
what a ridiculous notion.
how they would interact with the rest of the bill and how the administration would administer the new laws. And so there was a process there for a couple of days where we allowed that time for them to explore all that, to talk with leaders in the administration. President Trump was so generous with his time answering questions himself. Vice President J.D. Vance was directly engaged. We had cabinet secretaries at a number of different federal agencies answering questions from members. Some of them even...
Which, by the way, is... What they told them, I'm certain, is we will selectively prosecute this act. We will, the downside will end up mostly in blue states. The upside will happen mostly in red states. That's not going to change no matter what, though, because the money is allocated based on the sort of the market in each of these states and how many people they have on Medicaid, for example.
Brought their agency attorneys in to get really deep in the weeds on the details. I knew as the leader that we would have to take the time to do that. And so some of that went into late into the night. And I was not going to make anybody, I was not going to demand anybody's vote or their position on the bill until they felt that they had exhausted that opportunity. So we did it, and that's how we got everybody yes. Yeah.
Gibberish. Also, I was not going to demand until, which means they did, this was demanded by, I'm more than likely Trump.
Obviously, you talked about the legislative process. You made a joke on the floor about how the White House legislative team practically lived here in the Capitol. Talk to me a little bit about how you got these members to yes. What concessions were made? We know it wasn't changes in the Senate bill, but it was perhaps maybe promised through executive orders or future legislation. What are we looking at?
No, I mean, look, as I said, a lot of these members wanted to talk with the administration about how the new law would be administered by the Trump administration and the team. And
obviously, so you're basically saying they're going to ignore the law if they don't like what it does, and that means in red states. I think that's what they're doing. Yes, they were blackmailed essentially.
I think they answered those questions. I don't think they exacted a lot of specific commitments or concessions or anything.
Hold on. Somebody, Christine says, should have kept Congress from getting salaries and kept it at per diem so they never would have been able to become these greedy bastards. No, Christine, because then only rich people would be able to afford to be in Congress. Right? If there wasn't a salary for being in Congress, only people who didn't need a salary would run for Congress. Then what? Then you basically just, all you've got are business interests.
Anything like that. It was just more an understanding how that would interact. As you know, this president has been a bold leader. By last count,
you mispronounced liar.
He's issued over maybe close to 160 executive orders so far. We're trying to codify as many of those as possible. So a lot of the discussions were about what executive orders will be forthcoming as it relates to the new legislation, and how can we be involved as a House to codify that and do all that in a coordinated fashion.
You can't pre-codify executive orders in legislation. If you've directed funds, you can't. He's not going to be able to redirect funds if they're basically what he's saying is they gave him a slush fund. That's the idea. Is that this is the conversation they had to spend or to not spend. He can pretend he's holding back some of the money. Like what he can do is if they gave him leeway to do it, they can say there's a program he doesn't like or whatever. They can write up the money and he can redirect it through an executive order and go, I took money away from this awful, and not tell you that he put it someplace else. And so you'll think it didn't get spent.
The beauty of unified government is this is exactly how it can.
Unified government. That's what they call when they control the House, the Senate, the presidency, and the SCOTUS. Congratulations to all who gave these assholes a, quote, unified government.
Work and how it's supposed to work is that you have an interaction between the executive and the legislative branches, because that's what's best for the people. And that coordination is going to yield great results for the folks. So that was part of the discussion yesterday.
Last question.
Also, that was gibberish, just so you know. There was nothing to that. They talked about it. We talked about it. We worked back and forth. It's us and them. Blah blah blah. Nothing about the substance of the bill, because I would argue he has no fucking idea what's really going on here. In his description of every part of this is that he was in sort of the horse trading part of this, but he has no idea what's in the bill any more than anybody else does. Just saying.
Some of the holdout members have told us that they understand the president will consider more tariffs on solar and wind as part of the deal, and also that there were assurances about a big issue for your conference, undocumented immigrants and benefits. Can you help us understand what that might look like, how he would limit those benefits?
I literally don't know anything about that. I mean, I wasn't privy to the conversation. So I would tell you there's lots of rumor and conjecture and innuendo that floats around, especially when you got so many people wandering around the building and deliberating over their vote. So I don't know how much stock I'd put into much of that. But
He has no idea what she's talking about. She was asking about like how there was a trade for like if the Senate put more of the green new scam stuff back in because they know their states rely on it, and the House wanted it all stripped out. So did Trump allegedly. But the idea is that he's going to put tariffs on any kind of alternative or renewable technology so that it'll slow the roll of it, even though the funding is still in there. Because let's say, even though if you got a solar plant place in your district and you want, you need that manufacturing money or whatever, but a lot of them just don't want solar across the country. So they'll put a huge tariff on this so there won't be a balancing act of the cost. So it'll drive the cost up of the ones that are made in the United States to the point where almost nobody can afford them. And then there'll be no evening out of the price by the availability of them from overseas, because he'll jack the tariffs up to make them impossible. That's what he's talking about.
all right, last question. Yes.
I mean, that's what he's not talking about, because he has no fucking idea.
Scott Rapp from Louisiana and Tony Haas from Rolling Stone, looking at communities in St. John the Baptist, St. James, whose funding has now been entirely cut off from the IRA's private environmental justice funding. What do you say those from the communities facing more pollution, more toxic exposure from facilities?
Look, I think a lot of the estimations about what this legislation would do in a negative manner to communities in my state or any other are far overblown. I can tell you that this bill is going to be a great.
But she was asking about like pollution protections in his state, and all the funding for cleaning them up and stuff were cut from this bill.
Thing for everybody around the country, my constituents especially. What's good for Louisiana is good for America. We've got great tax policy here. I think they're going to feel this
Nope.
pretty quickly.
Oh yeah.
Wages will rise. I think
Why?
household income will go up. I think the job participation rate will increase dramatically. I think
Where?
unemployment will be low. We're going to duplicate what we did in the first Trump administration. Remember,
A pandemic?
the first 2 years, y'all have heard me say 1,000 times, it's objectively true. We had one of the greatest economies in the history of the world.
It's not. That's just silly. It's not objectively true at all. It's absurd. And in the first 2 years, you're still like, before your programs or anything get kicked in and you see the actual ramifications, about a year and a half. That's why there's often a flip at the midterms, because that's when your programs that you put in actually start showing up, whether people like them or not, or whether the business community or the lobbyists or the or the slacktivists or the groups that attack what you're doing drives a shift in the political winds. That's because of how long it usually takes.
And we're going to do that again, except this time much more comprehensively. We did tax cuts and regulatory reform, and that brought about a resurgence of the U.S. economy. That's what's going to happen here. It's about to happen on steroids. And we can't wait for that to happen. This is jet fuel for the economy, and all boats are going to rise.
Well, let's see it, buddy, because nope. Now, Trump also spoke on the ground, but he also spoke in the airplane. So let's take a quick look at this.
Our felt the Senate was going to be tougher than the House. We got there. We got pretty much what we wanted. It was an amazing.
Oh, sorry, everybody. I should have. That's my bad. Yeah, sorry. Whew. Forgot that was. Should have warned. Yeah, they've been talking about jet fuel, rocket fuel for the economy, blah, blah, blah. They use these kind of terms.
In fact, it's the biggest bill ever passed if we get this done.
No, it isn't. I'm again, the ACA was 3,000 pages. It's a healthcare bill. It's not the biggest ever anyways, period. It's the biggest addition to the debt in a single bill, sure.
You know, most of the people wanted 7 or 8 different bills. And I thought that was tougher because it'd be, 100%, but then there'd be nothing. This bill has something for everybody. But
to hate.
we're doing it this way. So we're happy about it. We're happy with the result.
So are you concerned that they're going to go to make further changes?
Well, they're going to ask for certain changes, probably. I don't know. I mean, I guess what would happen, if that happens, you then have to run it fast past the Senate, so it, never ends. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Do you think it's still possible to get this done?
I guess that's been done, right? On occasion, that will happen where they'll make a change and they'll get it passed. So it'll go pretty quickly. But I think the Senate was a very big move, and they worked very hard. I didn't get along with Tillis, and he resigned. That's good. That's a
He didn't resign. He's still in there. He's just not going to run again.
good thing.
Run for that seat, sir. Tell us the seat.
Well, somebody that would really be great is Laura. She grew up there, but
Laura Trump. He thinks Laura Trump's going to fill that seat.
they live in Florida. They have a very good life, and they're great people. She did fantastically running the RNC. She's even got a show it's like the #1 show, and Mark Levin is likewise. I mean, they have the #1, #2 show over the weekend.
Yes, when no one's watching these networks, that's what they watch.
She's done well. She's a great person, Laura Trump. I mean, that would always be my first choice, but she doesn't live there now. But she's there all the time. Her parents are there. She really knows North Carolina well, and I won it 3 times. I don't know who the candidates are going to be. I think you're going to have one of the congressmen step up, and we should do very well.
So is she talk to you about it?
No, not at all. It's so soon. I had it out with this guy 2 nights ago, and he resigned, which I was happy about. He did us all a favor.
That's, by the way, just the beginning of the fallout that's going to come from this. I think this is when he got on the ground after it had passed.
Take down to this speech at Sue House scored sure potentially listening to it live.
We have a very big trip planned to Iowa. Some of you are going with us, and perhaps a lot of you are going with us. How are you?
Dude, his brain is fucking mashed potatoes.
And we have a very big crowd, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're sort of celebrating like the biggest bill of its kind ever signed. And it's going to make this country into a rocket ship. It's going to be really great.
Really? Like one of Elon Musk's, the kind that blows up on the fucking platform?
Mr. President,
On the launch pad?
I think when you go over the bill, it was very easy to get him to a yes. We went over that bill, and point after point, biggest tax cut in history, great for security, great on the southern border. Immigration is covered. We covered just about everything.
Notice that those were 2 things. Just saying. Covered just about everything, except you're not bringing up the Medicaid cuts. Weird.
Again, it's the biggest bill ever signed of its kind.
Also, yes, he hasn't signed it yet. I think passed is what he kind of means.
Mr. President, said that they had conversations where you made promises. What promises did you make? Did you tell
Thanks, Barb.
Representative Clyde that you have an option on gun rights? What sort of deals did you make with those?
Well, I talked to a lot of different Republicans in doing it, and we had a good time in being there. I did not have much of a problem with any of them. As you know, we had 2 negative votes, but we had whatever it was, the final vote. Yeah, I think a few
Thanks,
of them
dude.
I did, but I think they would have gone yes anyway. No deals, no deals. What I did is we talked about how good the bill is. I mean, that's a deal, I guess, when you think about it. But obviously convinced him, but it was not hard. This is a great bill. This is going to be a great bill for the country.
It's going to be pretty fucking terrible. Yeah. There's no question. What you're going to see from them, by and large, is patchwork now. So the follow-up to this will be, because it's going to affect red states more than it will affect blue states, no question. So what you're going to see is a patchwork that is created, in bills and stuff that they try to shove through that's going to try to remedy some of these things. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much. Hold on. Thank you, some dude. I just started volunteering with the LA Food Bank in January, and I feel a lot better. You'll be motivated by how much good people actually do, even by corporations. Use the Point volunteering app. It's great. That's a great idea. Thanks. Absolutely. Yes. What we're going to have to do to pick up the slack in this situation is very personal. We are going to have to make a difference ourselves in real people's lives to make up for this stuff. There is stuff that will be out of our hands until the next election, but there are a lot of things that are well within your ability. And you have to, doing those things, putting that time in, will make you feel less exhausted and more in control.
Was wanted to vote no for the beautiful bill. Do you want to primary him too?
Well, I was disappointed that he did that. There were two of them that voted no, so I was disappointed that he voted no.
Mr. President,
We had a call. It was a pretty long call. We talked about a lot of things, including Iran. And we also talked about, as you know, the war with Ukraine. And I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy about it.
Does he just do a weekly Monday call with fucking Putin now? Are they just sitting on the edge of the bed like two teenage girls in the 80s? Just, no, you hang up first.
No, I didn't make any progress with him today at all.
Mr. President, how much growth can the country expect from the one?
I think we're going to get great growth. I think we'll have growth at record numbers. This is going to be...
Well, you have to think that to buy this bullshit in the first place. Of course they're going to sell that. And also, by the way, let me tell you something. The success of this thing, and I got to be really clear about how people talk about this, because there will be a temporary infusion of cash into the economy that Trump is counting on, a flood of money into it. He's going to turn on the money printers again and sort of, by government spending, change the Fed dynamic so that there's more money in circulation to lower that's why you've seen the dollar, the value of the dollar go down. The reason that's happening is why it's going to continue to happen is because they're going to add a bunch of money in this to try and goose the entire thing forward, hoping that you will think that, oh my God, the big bill passed, and then all these things happen. Suddenly there's all this money available to do all these things. The problem is when that runs out, it will still be part of the debt. And the Republicans who are complaining that we're adding to the debt are right, but they just folded under this. So what, again, our responsibility will be is when the check comes due, who to point to. That's going to be our job.
Something that's amazing, and everybody was watching it all over the world. And I want to congratulate the Speaker and Tom Emmer and Steve Scalise and everybody else. I mean, they worked so hard.
Why would you have to work hard if you have a mandate? Anybody? That doesn't seem to stick out in the news coverage of this at all. That why would it take a lot of work if you have a mandate? If the last election was definitive and game changing, why would it be a squeaker?
So hard. This has really been going on for over a year, if you think about it. I think, to be exact, about 14 months. And this was the culmination, and I guess it ended a lot earlier. A lot of people thought it would end up the following afternoon. Well, it ended up late in the evening, but they were great. They were great. And by the way, on the Senate side, I thought Senator Thune did a fantastic job.
Yeah, Thune's going to be running for president next. He's going to be running against J.D. Vance. He's going to be, that's what they're keying up, is the sensible return of conservatism. under Thune. Obviously we had to pass this big bullshit bill, but we've got a lot of work left to do. We remedied as best we could what the House sent us, but we really made some progress on a couple of things. That's what he's going to be selling in about 2.5 years. Count on it. Trump's not thinking about that right now because I guarantee that the whole thing about him running again is fucking fantasy. He just does it to poke the press because he knows they run with it. But everybody also knows that once he's gone, there is no next in line, charismatic leader that people can fall in behind. It ain't Vance. It's not going to be Peter Thiel. It's not Elon Musk. I mean, he's not even a citizen, like a natural born citizen anyway, so it doesn't matter. But there are only a few people who, as Trump would say, central casting for the Republicans, and Thune is one of them. It's not going to be Mike Johnson. It's not going to be anybody in the House. It's not going to be fucking Ted Cruz. They know it. The idea that it's, and any of the governors, including DeSantis, is just fucking lame. None of them are, can marshal the support of the maggots.
How are you within your party compared to your first term that you were able to get this over the finish line?
I think I have more power now. I do. I could say, oh, gee, I don't know. I think I probably do because we've had a great record of success. My first term was very, very successful. We had the greatest economy in...
No, we didn't. Just a lie.
...the history of our country. I think we're going to blow it away this term. But,
Yes, he's going to blow it away. That is true. It will be blown to smithereens.
We've proven certain things, and, I think probably it's got more gravitas, more power.
Gravitas. Yeah, that's how we describe you in your white USA hat.
Signed a trade deal with Vietnam yesterday. Great deal, 40% on transshipping. Can we expect any more of that before next week, sir?
So we have a couple of other deals, but my inclination is to send a letter out and saying what tariff they're going to be paying. It's just much easier. We have, far more than 170 countries. And how many deals can you make? And
I guess all of them, or you don't need them.
You can make good deals, but they're very much more complicated.
Why would they be complicated? Why is a deal more complicated than just a blanket tariff that makes no fucking sense?
I'd rather, and I've been like this from the beginning, I'd rather send out a letter saying this is what you're going to pay to do business in the United States.
Right, and it'd also be they don't pay it. They don't pay it. The businesses that would do this, that do business with them, they're going to pay it. That's how it works. Good Lord. Thank you, Paul Thanos.
I think it'll be well received. I think it's just so many countries. And, then they go specific. Let's do this, let's do that. Beef, ethanol. And I'd rather just do a simple deal where you...
It isn't simple. It's stupid. It's uniform and pathetic.
You can maintain it and control it. You're going to pay a 20% or 25 or 30%.
They don't pay it. We do.
Tariff.
You put in a record.
And we're going to be sending some letters out starting probably tomorrow, maybe 10 a day, to various countries saying what they're going to pay to do business with the U.S.
And then they'll say no, and we'll charge you. We'll do a reciprocal thing on you guys, or we'll just find another place to buy from, and your farmers will be fucked. It's one thing to think you've got an ace in the hole. It's another thing to think you have all the cards in the entire deck and nobody has any.
I think that D.C. has to become a very safe place. And
so you're moving? You're leaving? You're going to resign?
We're not going to let anything bad happen to D.C. That's our beautiful D.C.
That's our beautiful D.C.
And we're not going to let anything bad, and we'll have something to say about it next week.
Oh, will we?
Why did you pause weapons shipments to Ukraine? Why did you pause weapons shipments?
We haven't. We're giving weapons, but we've given so many weapons. But we are giving weapons, and we're working with them and trying to help them. But we haven't. Biden...
They asked if, why have you paused sending weapons to Ukraine? We did, by the way. They are. Like Hegseth ordered a pause, which kind of you can't do because it's the law. The Congress already passed it.
Emptied
It's not rescinded in this bill either.
out our whole country, giving them weapons, and we have to make sure that we have enough for ourselves. Who are you with? Oh, no wonder. Go ahead.
President, there's going to be a lot of symbolism tomorrow when you sign the One Big Beautiful Bill on Independence Day at the White House, kicking off the 250 years of American independence. What message should Americans be getting tomorrow when you sign this
What message should Americans be getting tomorrow?
bill?
Well, I think it's going to be really a message of proudness. You're going to be proud of your country because our country is doing fantastically well. The economy is great. You saw the stock market today. We're setting records, and in every aspect of our country, we're doing well, despite the fact
Nope.
that we inherited millions of people that shouldn't have been here.
No, you didn't.
And I think we have crime stats that are coming out that are showing the lowest numbers we've had in many years. And that
Well, yeah, I believe that Kash Patel and Bangholio can't find the crime that happens. Again, are we supposed to believe? Remember when he was like, the unemployment numbers are fake until I get in and then they're right? Are we supposed to believe the crime stats we're going to get from Kash Patel? For real? Are they just going to, like, smooth out, give you a nationwide number so you won't notice that crime is up in Bakersfield or in Republican districts, but it's down in Democrat-run cities?
also, despite the fact that a lot of people are here that shouldn't have been let into our country. So they're going to be very proud tomorrow. So we're signing at about 5 o'clock. And at about 5 o'clock, we're going to have B-2s and F-22s and F-35s flying right over the White House.
What the hell for? What? Why would you have B-2s flying over the White House?
And the Speaker and I and John Thune, we're all there together with most Republican senators and congressmen and women. And it's going to be a great day. So we'll be signing with those beautiful planes flying right over our heads. All right?
That's super fucking weird. I mean, why don't you just wear a t-shirt that says, I have a small dick?
What are your expectations for the next round of Trump's three-way topic with Iranian counterparts?
Well, we're going to see. Steve is a great guy. He's a great negotiator. Iran does want to speak, and I think they'd like to speak to me. And it's time that they do. We're not looking to hurt them. We're looking to let them be a country again. They got beat up, and, you know, they were both exhausted, frankly. But
again, this is his exhaustion projected onto, I guess, Israel and Iran. Neither are exhausted. It's just fucking silly. Proud of my country because we have so many that is going out against you, dump. Yeah. Well said, Stacey.
Iran really got beat up, and I think they want to meet. I mean, I know they want to meet. And
yeah, they just jumped out of the IAEA officially.
if it's necessary, I'll do it. But Steve is involved and very much involved, and he's done a fantastic job. All right, one more.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He's the guy who helped to negotiate an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. Oh, yeah, he's the guy who also helped the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas hold. Oh, right. Also, there are still, like, assassinations, essentially, like Mossad or missile hits, happening inside Iran right now. Ceasefire be damned. Like, there are people being killed in the country. Like, they're posting video all day long, especially from the nighttime, of explosions there.
You still want the U.S. to take over Gaza?
You still want the U.S. to take over Gaza?
I want the people of Gaza to be safe, more importantly.
So that's good.
I want to see safety for the people of Gaza. They've gone through hell. Thank you very much, everyone.
By the way, that safety for the people of Gaza means somewhere else. You can't be safe in a place like that. That's what he was saying before. So let me go to this one. Yeah, here you go. This is on Fox Business, just in relation to what he was just talking about. Not a good sign. Iran suspends cooperation with UN watchdog. That's, yeah.
New bill would allow President Trump to give Israel B-2 stealth bombers along with...
Oh, yeah, by the way, all the uncommitted, hashtag uncommitted, you crowd. Did you hear that? The bill that Republicans passed by a hair's breadth that not a single Democrat voted for is giving B2s and bunker busters ultimately gives them a ton of leeway to give stuff to Israel. Because those are the things you kind of need when you're clearing streets of terrorists, wouldn't you say? You're not going to own the fact that there was a difference, there was always a difference?
The bunker-busting bombs if Iran goes nuclear. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce joins us. Great.
Oh, by the way, what determines if they've gone nuclear? Oh, Trump just gets to say so. Just like he did when he hit him. He's like, Tulsi Gabbard was wrong. I believed that they were going to get it much sooner, so that's enough. Ta-da!
To see you this morning.
Thank you for being you. Hello. Oh, yeah, absolutely, Jen.
Tammy. Let's begin.
Well, yes, thank you.
There. What are the risks in doing this, do you think?
Well, look, obviously, in the State Department, we're in the business of diplomacy. That is the Department of Defense and the White House. Implementing the president's vision when it comes.
His vision, yes.
Comes to America first, what advances America's policies, what the president envisions is important. And that, of course, is supporting our allies around the world.
There you go. Yeah, right. Supporting our allies around the world, like Russia, like Iran, like China. Supporting, his allies.
Israel is one of those allies. And these are the kinds of decisions that we have with the one guiding hand in this nation, which is President Trump.
The one guiding hand. Lord bless us all. His one guiding hand brings forth your loving grasp upon the promised land. Oh, help me, Jesus. Here we go. His guiding hand. The fuck out of here.
And obviously, with the condition of the world, his approach of diplomacy has worked in a number of areas when it comes to not just ceasefires, but peace agreements, et cetera, like with the DRC and the Congo. I mean, there's an important dynamic.
Wow, there's a peace deal between the DRC and the Congo? How'd that happen? One of these days, we'll have peace between Mexico and Mexico.
There, but also when it comes to the emergence of a new.
She means Rwanda, who's officially not at war with the DRC or wasn't. There were militias that would go back and forth between the borders of both countries.
Middle East after our action regarding Iran. So ultimately, what the president decides and what America does is going to be best for America and then, of course, ultimately best for the world.
Yes, whatever we do, okay, it will be best for America and best for the world. Trust in his guiding hand, oh Lord of Jesus, there we go.
Talking of Iran, Tammy, what are the chances still that Iran gets a bomb?
The fuck? U.S. Air Force file of, are we blowing up the Temple on the Mount? Is that the footage that we're now showing? What the shit?
Well, I think now it's pretty clear after the destruction of their system, of their nuclear capabilities, certainly they will.
This is file footage of the concept of it. I'm fairly certain the Iranians didn't have a measuring pole and pylons nearby that would show the depth and the measurement so the camera would have something to like kind of do the math based on the angles and the height and the
not get a nuclear weapon. That was not aspirational by President Trump. That's a statement. It is clear now that is the case. But they did withdraw from cooperating with the IAEA, which has been noted was not a wise decision. There still needs to be
it's noted
cooperation to make sure that the Iranian people.
Hey, asshole. Once they've moved out of that and they're not cooperating anymore, you have no way of knowing. And the assumption will be, I guarantee it, from Trump, that they are. At some point.
And that country can return to the normal group of nations. So.
Yeah, that'll happen. That's what everybody does right before they join the normal group of nations, is they pull out of nuclear watchdogs looking into their nuclear program. Absolutely.
The president wants this to work out for everyone. Including.
Well, guess what, asshole? It can't. So you're going to have to make a decision, you lazy, flabby fuck.
Of course, the Iranian people themselves.
But it's not a good sign.
Probably not.
That the Iranian president has ordered the country to suspend its cooperation with the nuclear inspectors, right? I mean, that's just, I mean, it's an interesting decision based on...
Interesting. That's how I would say it. Yeah, interesting. The timing also.
What's happened up to now.
Yeah, and, you know, this is, of course, the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism.
Right. But Trump wants to make a deal with them. And if the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world wants to sell oil to China, Trump is fine with that. He wants them to be successful they just can't have a nuke. They can be very successful as the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism.
Does
Does that strike anybody as odd that they keep saying this?
doesn't happen just overnight. This is their
Yeah, you got to wean somebody off being the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism.
Thematic framework. It has been bad for the Iranian people, bad for the Middle East, bad for humanity. They have an opportunity now.
But it's been great for the rulers and the mullahs. So...
to return to some kind of normal order. The
Thank
president,
you, Kelly.
again, wants everyone to have a future, and this is an opportunity they should not miss. But the president also is determined to make sure that his agenda is seen and implemented, and that, remember, is about them not...
It's not. Okay, if that's what he's concerned about, just know that ain't what's happening.
...having a nuclear weapon, and that is not going to occur at any point.
All right, let's switch.
Well, how do you know? Stupid. How do you know? Because they just stopped allowing inspectors to look. So who has faith in the idea that Donald Trump will assume the best in the Iranian mullahs and the Ayatollah and the leadership, that they'll actually, they're not going to do this anymore? He's just going to, they're not letting us look because they don't want us to see how they're complying so much that they're concerned they'll look like wussies, so they just don't want to show us how awesome they're... It's a surprise. They're not done wrapping the president of peace.
Subjects, Tammy. President Trump and Vladimir Putin speaking now, apparently, or have been speaking. Tomorrow, the president reportedly plans to speak with President Zelensky of Ukraine. I guess this is the big question, Tammy. Is there going to be a ceasefire deal reached, do you think?
No. Period. That Trump just spoke to him. No. You know why? Is it because Zelensky's being obstinate or being a dick about the fact that Putin sent fucking rape squads into his country, you asshole? No, it's because Trump called Putin and Putin said no. That's why. There's not, that's why he's like, I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy. That's why he's saying, I'm not happy about it. The reason he's saying, I'm not happy about it is because he was told in no uncertain terms, Putin is not going to do it. He has no interest, asshole. In for a penny, in for a pound. This motherfucker is he's going to take this area until, Trump lets him finish it.
Think.
Well, look, that has been the goal of the president. That has been, we've been the world's largest supporter of Ukraine and the nature of what's happened there. But he's made it.
Sorry, hi, asshole. We're not the world's largest supporter of the nature of what's happened there. Trump is. Trump definitely likes because the nature of what happened there was Russia attacked and killed a bunch of civilians and tried to take over the whole fucking country.
Clear from the start. He's gotten the parties to the table. He's done that around the world with conflicts and warring nations. But that is what has to happen. Nothing else can be decided until there's a ceasefire. You can't.
Bullshit. Most wars don't end with a ceasefire. As a matter of fact, a lot of times you get a ceasefire, it rumbles on because of it. Most wars end with either a decisive victory, a surrender, or a stalemate, a literal, demilitarized fighting zone.
Make decisions about what a peace would look like until you stop shooting at each other.
How about, I got a great idea what it could look like. Russia, get the fuck out.
The president has made his opinion about...
Oh, there's a lot of stammering in these answers.
Vladimir Putin clear. We've shown our support and continue to for Ukraine. But we've also stated, as has Secretary of State Marco Rubio, that this now belongs in the hands of the parties. They must have that conversation.
Well, that would be because Trump promised to fix it in an hour and couldn't because the art of the deal is bullshit. Thank you, Russ.
And come to these decisions themselves. And of course, as President Trump has shown, his general.
Hey, whoa. Can we just, for a second, try to make these words sort of make sense? Could you make an attempt at making them make sense? Russia attacked another country. That country won't stop fighting until Russia stops attacking them. Russia has no desire to lose or stop fighting, and yet they cannot win. They need the other side to break down for them to be successful, just taking a little more territory until they can build up and try it again. This is, you want to talk about a fucking forever war? Here's how you get stuck in a forever war where it's always turning in Europe and this is going on, is you let Russia get a toehold. The way you end this, you want to end a forever war in this situation, you give Ukraine everything it needs to fight back, and Russia has to retreat back to its original line, and they come to the table. They attacked. They started it. But my NATO expansion motherfuckers can go pound sand. Don't make me whip out the 1997 NATO-Russia founding agreement. And if you don't know what that is, go read it before you start yammering to anybody about how Russia had no choice.
His interest in wanting to help facilitate the ceasefire to end the carnage. This is not something that can be won militarily.
Yeah.
By Russia.
And it has to end, and we know that is the message from President Trump.
First of all, no, it doesn't have to end. It doesn't. That's the problem, stupid. It can go on. People can keep getting slaughtered. Wars like this can grind for fucking years, stupid. Like, none of this is going to change because you stand in the fucking doorway with your arms on your hips going, now settle down. If I hear another one, this can go on for a very long time. If you don't believe me, ask North and South Korea about the demilitarized zone and the people that have been shot crossing that. Ask, anybody who's been abducted by the North Koreans and accused of spying. Of course it can go on forever. Wars don't have to be successful to kill a lot of people.
More quickly for you, Tammy. I wanted to talk about this. Federal officials warning about lone wolf terror.
All right. Don't smile so fast, dipshit. Did you notice how she's like, I'm so happy we're changing topics. Ask me about something else. Lone wolf terrorists.
There are threats to the 4th of July celebrations. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, it's a great way to scare people about foreigners.
Well, it's, I think, a lot of common sense. Look, the world has been disrupted. Iran is in a very different place.
I'm sorry. I was under the impression that Trump said they want to talk and they want to come to the table. Why would they give the green light to people to do acts of terror? Oh, right. They're the world's largest sponsor of terrorism that Trump wants to allow to sell oil so they can make more money and give them $6 billion from the account that supposedly Biden gave them.
Our individuals.
Good Lord. It's so stupid. Like, they don't even listen to themselves.
We see around the world who are willing to commit terrorism, to kill people. This is
What? There's people out there that are willing to kill people? But enough about the House Republicans.
Important a day. It's the Independence Day for the United States of America.
When? Why didn't someone call me? I have other plans. It's coupon day at Chili's.
So it's, I think, about common sense. Also, in fact, check with state.gov if you're traveling for the nature of what's happening with other countries.
Yeah, if you think you might be flying to one of the countries where Iran sponsors terrorism, check in with our website.
Advice there. We have that at state.gov. And also,
why would I trust the federal government, lady? They can't do anything right. I learned that from a Republican
with your
who works in government.
Local authorities, making sure that where you're attending, that you've got all the advice from your local authorities as well. But
yeah, that's what you want. Get all the advice from your local authorities. Should I wear blue or does it like? I feel like it looks like it fits, and I enjoy the shirt a lot or whatever. But I'm looking for something that helps me broaden out my shoulders, and I feel like maybe an orange or something. What are you calling about? Well, I mean, obviously, I want to know if there are any terrorists at the fireworks in Covington, Kentucky this week. But also, on top of that,
of course, enjoy the holiday, enjoy the birthday of this nation effectively.
Yes.
But
effectively,
be wise, and it's going to be a fantastic day. It's going to be
a fantastic day. That sounds something that, like something a character in Almost Famous would say.
250th birthday as for America in our America First agenda, and looking forward to a future which is obviously now brighter for everyone here at home.
Unless, of course, you don't call your locals and figure out what the terrorism spectrum. Are we on orange level, or remember that? Maybe we need to whip that shit back out again.
And
threat level orange?
Very quickly, just to get back to this lone wolf threat, there are Iranians that have come across the border when it was wide open. That is a big concern, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. People who are trying to escape Iran, maybe even, I don't know, fathers or husbands or grandfathers with daughters who thought, maybe better here for them than not. So, which obviously proves they're a danger to everyone. But someone who would actually bring their daughters here for a better life, yikes.
It is, and we talked about this at the time during the last administration.
Yes.
The number of people who are on the terrorist watch list that we knew had come over. The issue becomes who we didn't know who came.
Right, the the unknown knowns, or the known unknowns, or the knownly knowns.
Came over, right?
Right?
From both the northern and the southern borders. This is obviously
fucking Canadians.
Now we've got a DOJ, we've got an attorney general, we've got a president who understands the importance of safety in this country, and that is.
Then why? How come you shut down the border and nobody's coming across, but there's still just as much fentanyl in the country? What was that about?
Now built up, we know just President Trump's presence has sealed that border.
No, it hasn't. Or if it did, why did you have all that? Would you have like $170 billion in funding for the border in this, dummy? If just his presence as president shuts the border, what do you need all that money for, stupid?
But it is about from city.
I was told during the campaign last year that when Biden said we need to pass a border bill, people said, you don't need a bill, you just need a new president. Well, apparently you need a new president and $170 billion.
City to city, town to town, knowing that we recognize the importance of safety in the streets, but you're going to get certainly alerts like this. We are ready for it, but Americans need to have that in mind as we move forward.
Thank you.
As we move forward, that's how time works. I don't know if you're aware. Yeah. As the days pass and the clock ticks, like sands through the hourglass, these are the assholes of our lives. All right.
So much, Tammy Bruce, for being here.
We feel so much better about those lone wolf terrorists. Thank you very much. Have a great 4th of July, and don't blow your thumbs off. Okay, now, that's the comments afterwards. Okay, I'll jump to this next. This is from Ron Paul's show. The one big beautiful bill. Tick, tick, boom. Big beautiful charade. Republicans cave, Democrats rave. I didn't realize we had I suppose we could be raving. Do I have any rave music? Nope, that's not ravey music. I need something more kind of electronic I need some sort of like fur animal hat and like a spinning, glowing stick or something. Yes, we're apparently raving. Congratulations, everybody. We're going to, as Prince would say, rave unto the joy fantastic. Yes, well, yes, there is but not all raves are gay. I'm just saying. Somebody was asking. You know what I mean? But, just understand. Okay, here we go. This is them saying something about how the Democrats want this, I guess.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Liberty Report.
Hello, you too as well. By the way, congratulations on looking exactly like a Muppet.
Dr. Paul is away today. We are heading into a big holiday weekend. I will inform you that the Liberty Report will be taking a vacation tomorrow. So
what? Vacation? How dare you? You should be working. You believe in no pulling your own weight. Bootstrap it, motherfucker.
we can all be outside by the pool, what have you. But I do want to do a little briefing today because today is the day the big, beautiful bill will be passing. In fact, as we speak, they're readying for final vote on the floor. There are a couple of procedural issues going on right now,
blah, blah, blah.
But they will soon be dispensed with. Now, let's have a recap of what happened. Overnight, there was a vote on the rule. A lot of people don't understand what a vote on the rule is.
I'm assuming it's a vote on the rule going forward so that it passes a rule hurdle and then the rule is proven and therefore, you do not break the rule. I could be wrong.
No bill can be brought to the floor until a rule is passed.
Yeah, right.
And what a rule does, it defines the parameters of the debate. How long does the debate last? Can members come down? How much time can they claim? Are amendments allowed? Are they not allowed? This sort of thing. It sort of defines how the debate goes. Generally speaking, a rule vote is a vote that proceeds along party lines. And I remember when Dr. Paul was in the House, as a general rule, even when he hated the bill, he would vote in favor of the rule because he thought that the bill should be debated. And so that's what had happened last night. But there was kind of a late night rebellion. They held the vote open, I think, until 3 or so in the morning.
We know this.
The big, beautiful bill from coming to the floor for a final vote and would have ruined President Trump's 4th of July signing ceremony. So basically they stayed up all night, twisting arms, twisting elbows, twisting anything in sight.
Really? Well, I'm pretty sure Mike Johnson's porn app alarm went off.
And I know this is going to shock you, but by morning, when the members started getting tired, they relented and they voted for the bill and the bill passed. And this is probably the most predictable passage of a funding bill that you will ever see. Having spent 12 years or 11 years on the Hill, this is how it happens. The drama peaks because there are some holdouts who want to make a point. And then, of course...
Yes. So anyways, they're all in a room, bunch of sweaty men, twisting anything they can get their hands on, and then somebody peaks, and then the vote passes. This is gross.
They will relent. It's almost like a struggle session. And after they feel a little better, they relent. And so I just want to make one note as well, and that is that there are some comments about Thomas Massie, who originally voted in favor of the rule. And then when he saw that there was a pretty decent-sized rebellion, he added his voice to the rebellion. And then when they all predictably caved, he went ahead and voted yes to the rule again. And some people are calling that flip-flopping. It's not flip-flopping. It's again, a procedural vote to allow the bill to proceed. So what happened?
So this asshole uses StreamYard. We now know that.
Of things on the floor. This is an example of how things work. Representative Ralph Norman of South Carolina, not picking on him.
Why not?
Says that he's one of the holdouts, and he eventually ended up voting for the bill. He said President Trump did a masterful job of laying out how we could improve it, how he could use his chief executive office, use things to make the bill better. Again.
By the way, what he means is he could bend how the bill is implemented with discretionary spending to benefit red states over blue states, even though the numbers don't pan out that way.
We've got to pass the bill to make the bill better.
Yeah, sounds like the same shit you guys were decrying about the ACA.
That makes very little sense.
Right, it never did, but suddenly it's okay with you guys.
So the Republicans, yes, they caved, and here's what Politico said. They are quoting House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, and can kind of hear the contempt dripping from his lips. He said, for a long time, there were members that really thought there was a chance the bill was going to get opened up again to amendment. It became clear from the president's meeting at the White House to further conversations later that, for all the back and forth, the bill's closed. There's going to be no amendments to the bill. That's it. The bill is there. It's going to be voted on. Now, there were holdouts that are not going to surprise you. For example, Chip Roy from Texas. He is the one member who talks the best game and who always caves and always votes yes.
Did you hear that, Chip Roy? Ron Paul's stuntman just called you a pussy on the Liberty Report.
And I listened to this. This is yesterday. Chip Roy said, "Fact: the Senate BBB increases deficits and violates the terms of the budget deal in the White House. The Senate OBB guts the strong provisions to terminate the Green New Scam. The Senate OBB removes key provisions to stop illegal aliens from getting Medicare, etc., etc." He goes down the list on how the bill was made worse by the Senate.
By the way, what he means by worse, and this should be really important, the Senate put stuff back in for renewables and tax credits for that kind of stuff, and didn't gut Medicaid as far as the House wanted to go. That's what he means by worse. That the cuts weren't as big as they thought. And also, can I just say, all of the cuts on the quote Green New Scam, the Green New Deal elements that they talked about in this don't even fucking chart financially. Like, they're so minuscule that I think, what is it? It's all less than like $10 billion in a $7 trillion regular year budget. And obviously over 10 years, it's fucking ridiculous. And if you're going to seed possible future technologies and that kind of stuff, that kind of minor investment in it is tiny. Please look into the Medicare cuts. Okay, will do. Yes.
And then proceeded.
Hold on one second. And I'll show you the, let's see. Project to trigger significant cuts to Medicare. Here we go. This is the, so what this thing does, and this is kind of crucial to it. Let me shrink this down so you can see it. Oh, maybe. A lot of the way they get around this is that the cuts, this is the recent House bill often referred to as the reconciliation bill, the BBB, is projected to trigger significant cuts in Medicare, potentially exceeding $500 billion over the next decade. These cuts are largely due to the statutory Pay-As-You-Go Act of 2010. That's pay-go. So they don't cut it outright. What it does is it lights the fuse, right? Which mandates spending reductions if a bill increases the deficit. The bill's potential impact on Medicare is a major concern for healthcare advocates. Okay, so in it, it's expected to increase the deficit, so it will trigger automatic cuts. Congressional Budget Office estimates these cuts could amount to $535 billion over the 2026-2034 period. And again, starting in 2026, meaning the year after. So tail end of the year is when the cuts start coming in, right? Potential for deeper cuts. Some members of Congress are reportedly seeking even larger cuts to healthcare programs. They're going to do that anyways. They'll have to pass those on a 60-vote margin, and I don't see that happening. This would be the food and aid and assistance cuts. Okay. Yeah. So cuts. Sure. Let me shrink this down for you. Squeeze down. You're crazy. Okay. All right. Cuts. This is the current cuts that are in this bill, insofar as we know, because again, they voted for it without actually knowing. Cuts Medicaid by imposing the work reporting requirements, increasing enrollee cost sharing, making Medicaid harder to qualify for, which is the big one. They figure by raising the standard, they're getting rid of fraud instead of the people that have the hardest time. They're going to bury people in paperwork, so they just give up. Eliminating access for many lawfully present migrants. That would be people who are on it because of age or what have you. They've been, naturalized citizens, or they're here on a green card or something like that. let's see, reducing state financing options and restricting state payments to hospitals, nursing facilities, and other providers. And that's the other thing, too, is that the restrictions on those are because, and this is where Trump will play fast and loose with other funds in his slush to make this so that red states don't get hurt as much. Because, again, what these red states often do is they take federal funds and they'll move those funds into like kind of a block grant idea for the whole state so that they can put tax dollars in their state towards supporting what would effectively be Medicaid type stuff and support programs, NGOs and other stuff in their state, so they can pretend like they're bootstrapping and not taking these big funds from the federal government when they are. They're just shuffling them. It's why they talk about Iran the way they do. Like, you're going to give Iran money for oil, they're going to use it for terrorism because it's money that they would have to take, money that they were going to use for food and medicine for their own people. Now they have that money because of you guys, so they can take that money and give it to terrorists, right? That's the same thing. Okay, the reason why they say that is because that's what Republican governors do. Not with terrorism necessarily, but with like shuffling cash, right? Undermines Medicare by stripping coverage away from current enrollees, halting rules that would make nursing homes safer, reducing beneficiary access to cost assistance programs. By the way, my mom is a nurse and worked in home health services, and her job in Kentucky was going around to like home care sites and old folks' homes and making sure make sure they're feeding everybody and not leaving them, stranded in their own filth. That was her job after she retired as an actual nurse. She worked for the state doing that. Those state programs exist in every state, and a lot of them are shored up. The number of people they have doing these jobs are shored up by federal funds. Those are effectively gone now, so it will be up to the state whether they give a shit. And what you'll see in a lot of these red states is they don't. Threatens ACA coverage by eliminating tax credits that help more than 22 million people, buy marketplace plans, narrowing sign-up windows, creating other barriers to enrollment, such as changing eligibility requirements based on immigration status, slashes SNAP benefits by increasing red tape and shifting costs to states, putting food security and health at risk. We knew they were going to do this. And then it increases Medicare costs for low-income beneficiaries. By eliminating key improvements that streamlined access to the Medicare savings programs, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office projects nearly 1.4 million low-income people with Medicare, more than 10% of the dually enrolled Medicare and Medicaid population, would lose their MSP coverage due to the rollback of these simplifications. This would undo years of progress in reducing health and financial insecurity amongst older adults. It lowers Social Security checks by forcing beneficiaries to pay higher Medicare costs. That's the other thing, too. That's like, we're not doing anything to Social Security, when actually you're making people who are on Social Security pay more in another area. So your money doesn't go as far. These financial burdens will grow with time. Annual Part B premiums are projected to reach nearly $2,500 in 2026, more than $4,000 by 2034. Enrollees with very low incomes would even have more at stake. They would lose MSP coverage of additional Medicare expenses like deductible and copayments. These costs would consume a significant share of limited beneficiary budgets. One case study found that an older couple living on an annual income of $21,000 would pay $8,340 more for Medicare next year. This is a purge of the poor. That's what this is. This is a culling of people that the Peter Thiels and the J.D. Vances of the world think of as too weak and worthless. These are useless eaters. That's what Henry Kissinger used to talk, like the way he used to talk about poor people. Useless eaters. That's what they're talking about. That's what this is. So again, I don't want to hear any. As somebody who was raised Christian, I don't want to hear anything from these assholes with their claim to be a Christian. Mike Johnson knows he's doing this and doesn't care. Okay. Makes prescription drug coverage more expensive for low-income Medicare beneficiaries. I mean, that's across the board, by the way. The Medicare and Medicaid stuff is meant to make the people on Medicare who have money use more of it towards that for themselves. The Social Security Administration estimates LIS saves enrollees about $6,200 per year, a number that is likely to rise as drug prices do. Without MSP and its coordination with LIS, beneficiaries would be on the hook for those costs too. The work requirements by creating a job loss penalty that would apply to individuals up to the age of 64, putting coverage and care at significant risk. CBO finds that at least 5.2 million adults would lose Medicaid, including many who are working or should have an exemption, but would nevertheless get tripped up by the requirements' red tape. This provision would likely have a disproportionate impact on the 22 million Medicaid enrollees who are 50 and older, who face outsized barriers to steady employment as well. Yeah, the funny thing is they want you to get a fucking job, and there aren't jobs to be had in a lot of these areas, and they know it. Also, I like to be abundantly clear that when they talk about fraud, you talk about people who are bullshitting the system or whatever, those people have all their faculties and can spend all fucking day filing all the paperwork. If you're a fraudster, this is easier for you. This is MedicareRights.org. This is their list on it. Right? Think about it. If you're bullshitting, if you're completely healthy, but you're scamming the system, you've got all your mental faculties. You don't get exhausted, right? You're not sick half the day. You don't have to get a fucking blood transfusion or dialysis every couple of days or any of that shit. You could just sit at home and be full of shit. Well, all those folks, the people like that, won't have a problem refiling and filing all their paperwork. They're not going to be buried under paperwork. They can do it very easily, right? But people who are really on the downsides, who are really sick, will have a hard time filling out that paperwork. So here's the thing. What's that going to mean? Well, it means that somebody's going to step in and help them. So there's going to have to be, and Democrats can help with this, there's going to have to be a system in place where, like, if you feel like your Medicare or your Medicaid is difficult, you need to help filling out your forms and taking care of it, you're going to need organizations that can do that. And I think that's one of the areas where Democrats could help a lot, right? They could, supply that service. Help people get informed about their rights and what they need to do to maintain their coverage. Puts long-term care at risk, making it hard to qualify for Medicaid coverage and shifting costs to states. This is overwhelmingly likely to result in cuts to home and community-based services. By the way, that's largely in red states. Blue states are going to pick up the slack. Reduces ACA plan enrollment and affordability because they're trying to choke it off, but it won't work. People will still just sign up in a narrower window. Restricts Medicare and ACA eligibility by terminating Medicare coverage for many individuals with lawful immigration status who have worked and paid taxes in the U.S. for decades. This is and again, there aren't enough of these people to make a dent at all. There's, honest to God, paves the way for, where is this? Okay, sorry. Paves the way for bigger Medicare rollbacks by ballooning the national debt. Okay, this is the other thing, is they're hoping to starve the beast by choking it to death with debt later on. It's very hard to put together a national healthcare system if your country is that far in debt. So Republicans have a reason for saddling this much debt on the government because if Democrats get in charge, we won't be able to afford the programs that will help folks. That's what they're counting on too. That's one of the other reasons why Republicans will run up so much debt during the time, as much as they give a shit. They pretend to give a shit about fiscal conservatism or protecting, our future generations from the burden of debt. There's a valid reason why, on a political strategy equation, why they would want this done, why they would want to saddle the country with this much debt. Because if a Democrat gets in, it's really hard to make the argument. We've got the money to do this, right? There you go. Let's see. Nonpartisan analysis confirms devastating coverage losses from the bill. CBO projects roughly 17 million additional people would lose health insurance as a direct result. Ripple effects on hospitals, providers, and communities. By the way, they want people to, for all the story about the ACA was a giveaway to insurance companies. The dismantling of the ACA is a huge giveaway to insurance companies who were doing way better before the ACA existed. And it's going to go back to that. Congrats, everybody. All the folks who thought, all or nothing. Guess what? You're going to end up burning it down to nothing. Ripple effects on hospitals, providers, and communities from cuts in Medicaid aid and Medicare would jeopardize hospitals and healthcare clinics, especially in rural communities, likely forcing facility closures. By the way, that was the $50 billion that they added, which is just to pad it out so people would blame the bill for those closings. By the time those closings start to happen, they delay them basically by putting them on a credit card. That's what that was. They're going to, and by the time those things start closing, they're going to blame whoever's in charge. Hopefully they'll be saying like, it's almost like after Bush, they felt like, well, let's just let Democrats win and run things because they're going to catch hell for how things are because it's going to suck for a while because of what we did. Job losses across states would skyrocket, according to recent analysis. 2029 bills, Medicaid and SNAP cut would cost states $154 billion, 18% more than they could save. They would save the government. Nationwide, 1.22 million jobs would be lost, and state and local tax revenues would drop by $12 billion. Cuts to Medicare, and by the way, they don't care. They don't care about those jobs. They think other people will do other shit. Again, and talking about these things, it's important to know these details. But you got to know that the way we hear it is not how they hear it. You're going to need a different way to convince these people that they're doing something wrong. More preventable deaths would occur due to reduced access to affordable, high-quality coverage and care. Researchers estimate over 51,000 additional people would die each year if the bill is enacted. This includes 18,200 low-income Medicare, Medicaid enrollees who would lose MSP and LIS. Another 20,000 lives could be lost each year from disenrollments in Medicaid and marketplace coverage, and 13,000 from the rollback of nursing home staffing rules. Again, they think that this is like they're selling it as God's plan. Right? Republicans voted to create a lot of Luigis today. They voted to be them. All right. You have to understand, this is the Republicans following Luigi's lead. It is wrong on either side to go, the problem would be solved if these people were no longer alive. There's no difference between Luigi and these guys. They just have a different target. They think getting rid of these people will solve their problem. Mangione, the guy who shot the head of the healthcare company in New York. Which again, it's gross. I'm against the death penalty, especially one without trial. Sue me. I'm not anti-Luigi. He doesn't even factor to me. I'm anti-death penalty. Especially without trial. Period. I'm fundamentally against shooting people in the street because you think you're going to make a dent in a giant system. Fuck that. And if you don't think it adds to their justification, that's what they think. They think these people got to go because they're destroying the country. These immigrants, right, who are on Medicaid and stuff, they're destroying the country. But how it's only old and sick people that will die? Right. And no, it isn't. By the way, they also think that the genetically invalid will die. And those people are a leech on the system. But you have nothing else to lose? Silly. Luigi is a fuckhead. No. Abject murder is not how the system works, and nor should it. And rallying behind it is forgiving these people for doing the same thing. Because it's the same thing they're saying. Some people just gotta go. And until these people die, you guys won't realize how right we are. That's what the Republicans are saying with this bill. You wait. You wait until these poor people die off and these immigrants get shuffled out of the country or put in gulags. Then things will be awesome and we'll be right. And I'll show you. That's no different from what this Luigi fucker said. It's no different. It's just a different target. The behavior is wrong no matter who does it. It's ridiculous. It's murder. And you can't be for it some of the time. It's fucking stupid. And again, morally, these guys agree with him. They just disagree with the target. Yeah, agreed. Him doing that didn't do anything. Didn't move the needle at all. He didn't shoot himself in front of the place. He didn't draw attention to himself. He killed somebody else. Murdered a stranger to make a point. Fuck that. Fuck the Unabomber. Fuck him. It never does what they say it's going to do, and it makes it worse all the time. Yeah. He knows that ICE isn't going into gang areas. They're going after the individuals that are working. They are also, well, if you ask them, they'll say it's the same thing. Right? That reminds me. Hold on 1 second. I've got to do one thing, and then we'll get back to what we were doing. Give me 1 second. Is my iPad down here? I think so. Yeah, it's on the desk. Because you have your call at 5. Yeah. In 10 minutes. Yeah. Hi, sorry about that. Hi, good. Little family business. It's all right. Sorry for people named Karen or Luigi. I know it's got to be a heavy weight to carry. So, anyways, let me jump in. Let me show you one other thing from these lunkheads. Meanwhile, like, notice how he was claiming he negotiated a peace between the DRC and let's see, Rwanda, which again isn't actually a thing. Check out Peanut Butter Dickhead and his buddies talking about the Israel Hamas deal right now, and talk about like those folks who thought this would be better too. This is bullshit negotiating. Trump's peace deal teeters as Hamas balks at Israel ceasefire deal.
Trump says Israel agrees to conditions of 60-day ceasefire as proposal heads to Hamas. President Trump revealed on Tuesday that Israel has agreed to the conditions of the 60-day.
By the way, this dude has been getting like sinus infections lately. Is it Coke? Might be. Yeah, that would be the big question. Coke or sinus infection? You be the judge.
Ceasefire with Hamas. My representative is this the one, Rob? If you have, okay. My representative had a long.
Thank you, Colleen. Hold on, I didn't even get to see it, so hold on. Colleen. Oh my gosh, thank you. I have no words to express my feelings. Just supporting. Thank you, Colleen. That's so lovely. That's awesome. So, and Stacy says something like this happened before. It's why I started my weekly benefits workshop at my local library. We'll start it again. That's a great idea. Yes, public libraries are a great place to have a gathering. Like, hey, if you're worried about your Medicaid or Medicare benefits being cut off, if you know how to help people sign up and do that kind of stuff, you can help them through their paperwork. There's nothing stopping you. And you know, I worked with Project Angel Food in Los Angeles. I have no doubt we're going to be going out again, helping people. And in the meantime, there might be something to adding that as well, right? Adding a help you stay on your benefits, and protect you. Now, California, obviously, which is where that is very different.
Productive meeting with Israelis today on Gaza. Israel has agreed to the 60 days and the conditions during which time we will work with all parties to end the war. The Qataris and the Egyptians, who have worked very hard to help bring peace, will deliver this final proposal. I hope for the good of the Middle East that Hamas takes this deal, because it will not get better. It will only get worse. Thank you.
By the way, this is how the negotiations with Iran started, right? It will only get worse. It's either this or awful, right?
For your attention.
And see how that turned out?
To this matter. Adam, your thoughts on this?
Well, Trump's trying to run the table and work out all these deals that he's been working on. It first started with India and Pakistan a couple of weeks ago. We see that the ceasefire between Iran and Israel is holding, and now he's moving on to Gaza, and then
Also, no, it isn't. Just, I'm telling you, no.
Hopefully he can run the table on Russia and Ukraine. But Trump is a deal maker, and he's trying to cut a deal. So what's happening here, in my opinion, there's a proposal, there's conditions, and what's the title of the article? That Israel has agreed to the conditions, is it not? So Israel has agreed. Now, Israel, in my opinion, they have two stipulations. Number one, can we get our hostages back? You know, those people that you just kind of ran up on and stole and hijacked and killed a lot of people, that whole thing?
Right. Apparently, Trump is like half-assed about it. Maybe, maybe not. That's why it's not going to be a thing, right?
And then number two, this is kind of important. Yeah, stop terrorizing us. We'd like that. We'd like to just live in peace and prosperity and not have missiles from Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas and Islamic Jihad and all the terror crew out there just terrorizing people because, that's what terrorists do. They terrorize. Meanwhile, we're literally negotiating with terrorists. And, the whole phrase about not negotiating with terrorists. And then Hamas comes back.
Yeah. Does it sound like this crowd is cool with Trump's capitulation with Iran at this point, and that this won't turn around and bite them in the ass again?
And what did Trump say? That they basically gave an unacceptable counteroffer. So the story kind of goes like, all right, yeah, we'll give you the hostages back. Some are going to be dead. Sorry about that. But the second part, the whole stopping jihad, yeah, we can't do that. Like Diddy, we can't stop, won't stop. That's just kind of what we do. It's kind of in our charter that you can't live. So in my opinion, this is one big poker game. And, you talked about the word tilt the other day, Pat. Yep. When you're throwing good money after bad money, oh my God, I'm on tilt. Well, in poker or in cards, it's all about who has the leverage. Now, Hamas using a Trump quote, Hamas don't got the cards, right, Zelensky? So meanwhile, Israel has a full house. They got 3 kings, 2 queens. They just eliminated all the terror proxies surrounding them. With the help of America, eliminated Iran's nuclear capabilities. And Hamas, who's basically holding a pair of 2s and maybe an ace up their sleeve, which whatever that is, which doesn't exist, they're like, yeah, we're going to negotiate here. If this were a real negotiation, like an actual business negotiation, Israel would just run over Gaza and Hamas and just say, better luck next time. But they're trying to sort of play
this is happening at the same time.
Geopolitical nice guy without wiping out this entire community.
Tom,
we'll see what happens.
How do you sit there and say, second request is dismantling Hamas? How do you? What does it mean to dismantle Hamas? What does that ask mean? How does a Hamas organization get dismantled?
What? So these assholes. Why are you even asking these questions? You think Trump thinks this shit through? This is a real estate deal, you dumb motherfuckers. He doesn't care. Think. Now, honestly, this dude just wants Kushner to roll in there and be able to take land. And because he was handed the power of the U.S. military, he thinks that's how it's gonna go. It's a matter of time. And he'll give vacillating talking points all over the place, but ultimately the decision has already been made.
There's really only one angle I can think of.
Right, because you're simple and stupid.
And it's cutting off all of their money and supply. But the money and supply has always flown black market for these guys. I mean, well,
that's the whole point the other guy was making about you can't make a deal with Iran if they're not going to stop funding their proxies just because you can have anything short of a nuke doesn't sound like peace either if they're supposedly the world's largest sponsor of state. This is so fucking stupid. Again, these guys are trying to just clean Trump's ass every goddamn day. Now, real quick, I'm running out of time, but Trump is, I don't know if he's even up yet. Let's see. Are they at this thing? Where is it? There's Trump is, there's a, are they playing? Okay, whatever. They are, this is Iowa 250th, his fucking state fair rallies in his little fishbowl like he's the fucking Pope. Yeah, this is the Iowa rally that he's going to do. I have to say, part of me wants to cover the entirety of the speech, but on the, you guys don't need that shit. I feel like I should just do it in private and then post it later, just so that you guys don't have to deal live. But I don't know how long this thing will be either. It's going to be the same blathery bullshit, and he's going to take a victory lap on the passing of the bill, but it won't ultimately matter. There's Grassley, because the ramifications of the bill won't be felt for quite some time, and he knows it. So this will just be the illusion of a victory lap, right? And I mean, maybe we'll see some army manned the airports, they rammed the ramparts, they did everything they had to do, right? Like there's a chance he'll say something stupid.
Our army manned the airports, it ran the ramparts, it took over the airports, it did everything it had to do.
So there's a chance he will say something along those lines, but it's not gonna, he's not gonna announce a peace deal with anybody. And anybody, the lesson I think we should get from all of these things is that if he does, it will be a lie, as they have all been. So there are two things I want everybody to focus on over the next little bit, is that the bill that passed the House and the Senate right now, whether they did it in one bill or whether they did it over the course of it through his executive orders and the other shit that he's doing, the damage he intended to do will get done. And it will require repair on our part and maintenance of the people who are left out in the cold because of this. It's on us. It's on us to do some good. As much good as we can manage. Wherever you are, whatever volunteering you can do, it's going to be on you for a bit. Because there are going to be a lot of people in need who are on the down slope of this stuff. And it's going to get increasingly bad over the next 2 years. And you may need to shuffle around what you're doing over that period of time. Right? But it is crucial that you recognize that you have value in this situation, and just because they have passed this bill does not mean that that all of this is automatic and that there's nothing in your locus of control, because there absolutely is. The other thing too is that, and this is one of the other. Let me show you this real quick. We've been seeing a bunch of this lately. Here, back it up. Go away. This thing. Fallen off a mental cliff. New Trump traits have White House insiders alarmed. This is the other aspect of this that is not going to change over the next little bit. And if there's ever going to be a room to fix what's been done, it's going to be as soon as this dipshit collapses fully. And so you got to be ready. You got to prep and be ready to do something about it. You got to literally react to this stuff as it happens. Bizarre new behavior from President Donald Trump has planted fresh new worries about the White House. This is where he was talked about, like, people, how long are people going to be at Alcatraz? And he's like, I'm going to be down here for a few months, playing golf, whatever. Let's see. Among warning flags is the fact that the president has apparently stopped working on Mondays. Again, I'm fine with that. Like, anytime this dude phones it in or doesn't show up at all, is a day he can't do more damage than the people around him already. The information came from a White House source who told Brian Karem, I'd lose my job if I talked about this publicly, or worse. He confided that Trump hasn't shown up in the Oval Office on a Monday for the past month. He's also been playing golf in Virginia, avoiding his usual trips to his clubs in Florida and New Jersey. That's so people won't see that he's going to his places, right? Okay. That's because he doesn't have to be gone from the White House as long. I don't think he's in good physical health, they said. Other causes for concern voiced by the writer by two people inside Trump's circle concluded his recent lackluster public appearances, his gait, his apparent befuddlement, his propensity to govern via Truth Social postings, his sloppy attire, and his lack of engagement at the White House with others. That whole, like, thank you for your attention to this matter weird thing that he adds on to things, like like he's putting it in a complaint box. His sanity looks long gone, Karem surmised, and that doesn't bode well for the country, since there's absolutely no chance the sycophants in his cabinet will invoke the 25th Amendment. Right, they're just going to let this hang. I told you, they're going to roll him around like Admiral Pike in a fucking wheelchair, with a MAGA interpreter. But he's slipping, and he'll have a window like any aging, demented dude of 2-hour window where he's got it together, and then sundown. Then they're going to shave off a day. And you're going to see, again, like I've said, everything they say about Biden is true of Trump, and they know it. Right? And I would like to point out that this is at the Alligator Auschwitz place. This is inside a tent with chain link fencing. I don't know anybody who was at Alcatraz who wouldn't be able to get out of that place. And I said this on Dino Badala's show earlier today. The alligator Alcatraz thing is not there to keep those people in. It's to keep reporters and protesters away. Because I got to tell you, if you're a murderer and you're going to be shipped back to a fucking gulag where they're going to torture you, you'll take your chance with the fucking alligators. More than likely, you'll make it. But reporters, protesters will have a harder time getting in there and seeing the place. That's what it's about. Don't let anybody, because the fixation on sort of the cruelty of the environment itself is meant to trick people into their sympathy for the people inside, is trumping their recognition of what this is about. It's so you can't see. This is a lesson they learned from Democrats showing up at facilities and wanting to look inside. And their assumption is well, we could block the door, but they could get footage of or break into another place or let people out or whatever. So we want, or protesters could surround the place, right? Film what's going on from multiple sites, all that kind of stuff. But with this place, there's one way in and one way out, and it's easier for them to control that and keep people at bay, to keep it hidden as a black site, essentially. It is not about that. It is not about the inside of the place and worrying about those people getting out. That's what they're selling people. That's why they're telling you this whole worst of the worst, and we want them surrounded by alligators so they can't get out. It's like a moat to protect you from these awful people, right? Apparently, these awful people who they're going to have multiple members of gangs and other people together in the same room so that they can plan their escape. They're going to fill the place with protesters and reporters. No, I think they're trying to keep protesters and reporters out. They're going to fill it with migrants who don't deserve it. And they just don't want people to see that they're not scooping up the worst of the worst or violent offenders or any of that shit. They want you to think that's who's in there, because if you got to see who they were actually putting in there, you would object. Right. And again, I don't want people to get out over their skis in their worry about who's going to get scooped up and get into this kind of FEMA camp bullshit that Alex Jones was selling about what the left was going to do to right-wingers and put them in these FEMA camps. Because it ends up being a conspiratorial distraction from what they really are doing that's wrong. Yeah, they're not. The thing they don't want you to see is that they're taking very normal people, that they don't have people with criminal records, that there aren't anywhere near the number of people in the country that they're saying there are. So these tents being out in the middle of nowhere, and the fact that you can't see people going in and out of there, it can help them with the illusion that there must be tens of thousands of people, right? There just aren't. And the story about this, and this is where Democrats, those who watch my show, and I know you're out there and I love you and I thank you for doing it. If you're in the House or the Senate and you're going to do any kind of oversight about this, I need you to know that I need you to ask for the numbers of people going through those places, actual numbers, some way to actually measure the real numbers of human beings going in there, being processed, and being deported or sent someplace else. We need those numbers for two reasons. One, to protect the people in them, that make sure that they're getting due process. And if they are the worst of the worst, they get processed and go through the court system and either are put in our jails or extradited to another country where they may have done other awful, like in normal society. But also to make sure that those numbers are real. To show that, and what I believe will show, is that the Republicans, clamoring about these 25 million people who are in the country and they're all terrorists and they're all awful, there's nowhere near that number. And they're going to shit the bed on that number every single time. The number it's supposed to hold is around 3K, according to them. It's supposed to hold 3,000 people. I call bullshit. Sorry, how they already turned a Florida Oversight Committee away today on day one. You live 60 miles away from this concentration camp, right? Mary, that's what we will have to keep pushing for, because they're not just gonna hide that the people in there aren't these villainous monsters they claim they are. But I'm just gonna call that there aren't any of those people in there. How about this, motherfucker? How about I'm gonna assume it's empty until you're having trials or you're letting people know exactly the people that went through there. I want fucking you got to fingerprint and photograph everybody coming through there. I want to know they're real people in there, and I want to know where those real people are going. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume you built a bunch of fucking tents in the Everglade to pretend you're doing something about the border because there aren't anywhere near that many people in there. And prove me wrong, asshole. Democrats, you can do a lot calling this out in a way that says, just say you've got constituents. I'm that constituent. Make me that person. I've got a constituent who says that there aren't anybody that's going to be going to these facilities because there aren't nearly as many people in the country illegally as you said there were. And you're having to hide that fact by creating these balloons in the middle of the fucking Everglades to hide the fact that you aren't deporting that many people. It's not that you're hiding these numbers from us who care about the Kilmo Borrego Garcias and other people who aren't getting due process. That's certainly a concern for us. But since when did they give a shit about what we think? What they really seem to give a shit about is that maggots are starting to go, hey, what the fuck gives? That's why this, Kristi Noem was making up this bullshit thing about talking to these leaders of South American countries, and they're like, all of our people are coming back. They're self-deporting. And so we're helping them with home loans. Well, why the fuck would you help somebody with a home loan if you let them out of your jail or your mental asylum and told them to go to the United States and attack? Fuck are you talking about? If they're welcoming these people back, that means they were up here doing hard work and being good members of society. Otherwise, why would they welcome them back? The fuck? It's garbage. How they brought incinerators out there as well. Yeah, they're going to do that for garbage and waste and all that kind of stuff because they haven't set up plumbing for it. They're not going to burn people. It's not going to be a crematorium for human beings. Like I said, it's more likely they're just fucking empty. I'm telling you. They've got to sell something to maggots. Maggots have to believe they're doing something about this. And they don't. Maggots, by and large, are like, yeah, there's nobody crossing the border, but what about all these people that allegedly got in? Where are they? Oh, we're shipping them out through here. Who are they? How do we know? Not only am I not going to assume you're only putting the worst of the worst in these places, until I know otherwise, I'm going to assume there's nobody in there, you asshole. You don't get to just fucking sell that. Now, I guarantee they will put people in there. But the problem, the other concern I would have is that they seem to be pretty slapdash about who they put where. And it would be very concerning if they put a bunch of rapists and murderers in with people who are just day laborers that got scooped up. And I got to tell you, I don't feel particularly safe, and I don't know why anybody in Florida would feel particularly safe, that you are keeping murderers, rapists, and psychopaths in a fucking tent. Why would anybody? Well, why wouldn't you take people out of the local jails who are Americans who aren't particularly dangerous? I don't know, people who did fucking, identity theft or some shit like that. Put them in the tents and put these dangerous, murderous, psychopath Hannibal Lecter assholes in the stone prison. The hell? I'll tell you why. Because it's bullshit. Because they're lying. I don't buy it. And here's the thing. Whether it turns out not to be true, this is one of the few ways you can call them out and make them show you. They're not going to show you because, by God, I believe people deserve due process. They don't think so. They disagree. They're not going to show you who's in there because you think those people deserve due process. Because what they're going to do is they're going to come out and go, oh, you think these people deserve due process, do you? They killers and these people, this dude who chewed his fucking fingers off on an airplane. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to, their reaction will just be to, reverse the accusation. So I call bullshit. I don't think there's anybody in there. How do you like that? I think these are fucking empty. You can't just roll a bunch of people in there for a photo shoot, not tell me who they are. And then next week, how do I know they're not just fucking paid extras you hired off Craigslist? It signed an NDA. That place is going to have more alligators in it than prisoners, no doubt. But my point is, if you call them out that way, they have to show you, because you're calling them weak. You're doing it on terms that they understand and have to respond to. Right? And we have to start thinking in those terms. We have to start addressing these things in those terms. And not just because it's good strategically. What's up, Boston Brian? Not just because it's smart strategically, because it's fucking true. That place is a snow job. It's bullshit. All these places are. There aren't nearly as many, criminals and murders and stuff as he said there were in the country. There couldn't possibly be. And they know it. That's why they're scrambling so hard. That's why Homan's so fucking pissed off that people are asking him questions. Why he's going on Hannity and saying people are accusing him of not caring about victims, and why he keeps bringing up the same 3 fucking stories from when he was a case agent a long time ago, about finding migrants in a truck that are cooked to death. By the way, all of them, if he really believed what he says he believes about these people, why isn't he going, I was lucky to witness a truck full of future terrorists cooked in the desert, right? Because he knows they're innocent migrant workers. He's full of shit. So call them out on terms that they have to respond to, where they have to prove they're not weak by showing us who those people are. Because if you just say they're not getting due process, they'll go, they don't deserve it, and that's that. I want receipts. Yes, I want receipts. How the fuck do I know there's anybody in there at all? We're going to take your fucking word for it? You were supposed to be bussing out, tens of thousands of people, and your numbers are still smaller than Biden's were. And that was including people at the border. It's gibberish. Put up or shut up. And MM Note says they won't respond. If they don't, take that and as your marching orders, and literally that's what you talk about. Those places are empty. It's just it's a farce. There's nobody in those places. They're not rounding anybody up. Right? You have to be able to trigger a reaction from them. And one of the ways you do that is by calling their bluff in a way that they will react to. They have to, because then they have to defend themselves. No, here's this person, this person, this person, this person. All right, that's 6. What about the rest of the place? How do I know those people are even in there? Who's doing oversight on these people? They're not American citizens, according to you. They're violent predators, according to you. So why don't we know who they are? If you can post American citizens' faces and names in post offices when they're on the FBI's 10 most wanted list, why wouldn't we have a list of everybody who goes through there? Fingerprinted, LiDAR scan of their face, as much information about who they are, right? Why wouldn't we know all of that? Right? Because we are all being told they're the worst of the worst. That's who's going to this place. So if I just go, well, are they marginally the worst? Are they half of the best? How do we know? They may be here illegally, but that doesn't make them illegal. And that doesn't mean that they're the same kind of as a criminal. Blah, you have that kind of argument with them? I'm just going to call bullshit. Rolling list of everybody who's in there. Every piece of information filed with the government so that we know who they're tracking. Because I guess if you're going to deport these people, you got to keep them from coming back in, right? The other thing is if you live in Florida, I would be concerned that they are putting the worst possible people in a fucking tent. That is also the other thing you can bring up. How the hell does anybody expect those people not to be able to break out of a fucking tent? Right? Jesus Christ. You think these guys won't take their chances with the fucking gators? They grow in a group of 5. They can't get all of us. It's dumb. Who the fuck puts prisoners of that ilk, even if you think the water around that area is scary, in a tent? It's ridiculous. So that also is going to be part, and of our. It has to be part of our strategy in calling this shit out. It has to be. And then, of course, so what I would like to do is I'm going to start posting, volunteer information on my show, on the regular, especially on the Saturday show on the radio in the Chicagoland area, because we directly interact with that place, for ways that you can help the people who are going to be disenfranchised and harmed by the cuts in this bill. That's another way we can help. It's material. It's real. And we can make up for what was taken away with our own actions. If that interests you guys. Quite frankly, I'll do it anyways. Right? So we'll add that as well. Because that is what will be required. You can see the bulldozer track marks where they created the place. The first thing I would suggest is that if you have a homeless shelter in your town, contact them and put yourself on the list. Because there will be an increase in homelessness because of this. People are going to lose their homes. Their medical expenses are going to drive them back, out onto the street again. A free clinic is a great place for, if you can volunteer medically. I mean, there's so much you can do in just picking up a broom in places. But if you can, there are places where there's going to be a cascading effect. People will lose their health care, they will lose their houses or apartments, and they will be on the street. And so homeless shelters is going to be a very important part of acting as a backstop. So that would be, just reaching out wherever you are. At any time you can't, just in your city, just look it up, just Google it on the internet, whatever your local, volunteer near me. And we'll also, like I said, we'll add to different organizations that are kind of across that are nationwide, that can also help, if that works for you guys. And we'll just add that in the same way that I've been covering the Ukraine war since it started. This is another version of that. This is something that has a permanent importance to it. So, because you got to do something, and it can't just be the sort of the politics of it. You're going to vote. I trust you guys are going to vote and vote the right way and move this. Yeah, and donating to the DNC, donating to candidates, that kind of stuff, awesome. But on top of that, what you do with your time matters. Yeah, homeless pets, fostering animals, that kind of stuff will help as well. Even if it's people who are losing their home, they also might not be able to keep their pets. People do that a lot too. They have to, somebody has to take care of them. That's one of the things you can do, right? So that'll, and I think that'll help people feel a little more energized, but it also, whether you feel that way or not, it will have a material impact. Right? If I was one of those migrants out there, I'd ride right out of there on the back of an alligator. You're not wrong. I mean, again, if you have any sense of direction and you know where you are, and by the way, there's information on all these places, like anybody with access will know exactly where these places are. You know which direction you have to run and how far. People did it all the time. I got news for you. There's alligators and all kinds of shit in Floribama and those areas. And when slaves were escaping, they went through a lot of those territories, hid in those areas for a long time amongst the alligators and stuff. They managed to live just fine. And they were chained. They weren't in a chain link fence in a tent. So, again, if you're in Florida, I would be concerned. That said, homelessness is going to be a big thing. I've been talking about for a while that we need to bring back comic relief. I was watching some of the old ones, and I was like, you know what? It just ended, and it's a shame. And I feel like this is one of the areas where, an obvious connection, and yeah. It'd be a good time to do it. And anyways, and I know in England they have Red Nose Day, and they make comic relief kind of a thing there just on a personal level. Maybe start building on that as well, because it's going to take a lot of, like I said, a lot of little miracles and goodness to make up for the big gaping holes they're trying to create. Right? Yeah. I gotta figure out a way to jumpstart that. Yeah? Make empathy great again. That's a good idea too. Absolutely. RC. Yep. And again, take away people's fear of complexity. Can't believe this is where we are. I can, Karen, because I got to tell you, no country gets to skip history, and I don't want to be lectured by a German about what it's like to have an asshole in charge of the government. Water Goddess, it's your birthday tomorrow? Aw. Well, I'll be on in the morning, if that's cool with you guys. We're gonna see fireworks in the evening, so I might have normal shows tomorrow. What can Canadians do? Canadians can, there's a lot you guys can do, both from a charitable standpoint and the like, but you're a pretty good example. Just live as a good example. Keep doing that. The Community Lounge on Highland Comedy Venue would be receptive for a fundraiser. Sorry, check with Katie Cazorla at the Kookaburg Lounge at Hollywood and Highland Comedy Venue would be receptive to fundraising events. SM Masked MC, contact me through Andrea, and let's talk about that, because I think that's a great idea. There's a comedy club downtown, and there's also Flappers that have been doing stuff, and I think maybe it might be time for a Los Angeles-based comic relief thing where we do maybe a 24-hour live stream of comedy from all these different venues in LA or something, and have that be comic relief. Something like that. Have everybody do, sets and then jump from place to place. That'd be cool. But that's what's going to be required, right? Am I Christopher? I didn't realize I was. It's just a lot of words in here. It's a lot of... Homeless shelters are full here. I'm not sure where you are, but that's the case in most big cities. Okay, cool. So I'm going to let you guys go. Much love. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. And I will see you in the morning. We got to start comedy crawl. Yeah. Why not across the country? I'm just starting with what I know. I think across the country would be frigging awesome. Right? But if I could start with there's a lot of well-known clubs in Los Angeles, Improv, Comedy Store, Laugh Factory, Flappers. There's this place, I think it's called Upstairs, whatever. I'm meeting with them in a couple of weeks. They're in downtown. But jumping around to each of those places and having them do like a 3-hour run and then broadcasting from the next place and the next place, right? I think that would be fantastic. And we would, the idea being that we would raise money for a fund that would go to the shelters in the Los Angeles area. And then build on that, right? Then you could do like a Comic Relief Chicago thing where you do the comedy clubs in Chicago and everybody gets to put their big lineup forward, or people who started in these clubs. You do Boston, you do New York, something like that, right? I don't know. I wonder if there's a rights issue with Comic Relief. Figure it out. We'll make it happen. Who cares, right? I like the idea a lot. We've been talking about reviving the Bridgetown Comedy Festival in Portland, right? And And that would be one of the ways to do it. You're going to need help? Well, I'll do what I can, Deborah. Yeah, Canada, keep the door open for all of us, right? Yeah, I can ask, Demi Jor to join the tour. No, I would want it to be funny, though. That is when at the baseline, right? All right, Dakota, Dave, staff chat, what happened? Sorry. I was asked if Hal's doing a show on the 4th and if he's going to, if he could read the Declaration of Independence. Sure. That's a great idea. Yeah, I'll be doing my regular shows tomorrow and in the morning and afternoon. Yeah. Hashtag Rip Portland. A 24-hour laugh-a-thon. I think it's a great idea. I'm just saying. Especially with live streams now, you could do it, do it, spell it with a K, that'd be the way to do it, so I can get around the that part of it. Yeah, so tomorrow, Friday, I know Rob will probably be on vacation, so it might just be me and a robot, but what happened? Who was there? Okay. Anyway, so I will see you guys later. Yeah, all right. See, we're already thinking, how can we help? Right? Super important. Find a way to be of service, and you will feel a lot better about this stuff. Okay? In the meantime, until such time as we can, revive and create the social safety net we know is needed across the country, we can build on what we have right in front of us. Yes. Have your pants on. I don't know if it's Zoom. I guess you can perform with your pants off, so it kind of doesn't matter. Yeah. Shit, maybe I'll do a 24-hour stand-up-a-thon where I just do like every joke I possibly can find, my own and like old jokes from books or whatever, and just live stream nonstop, and give all that money to the Mission homeless shelter in LA or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I like it. There's, I know computers and hack into things. Well, you might come in handy as well. Oh yes. Maybe. Hack relief? That sounds like a bad comic relief, right? Anyways, all right, I'll let you guys go. Talk to you later. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. I'm not letting go, and I'm going to keep at this, I promise. I have faith in you guys, maybe more than you have in yourselves. And we gotta be strong for those who can't. Because this is going to be very real for a lot of people. And if you can stand on your own 2 feet, you're already ahead of a lot of the people who are going to be on the receiving end of this hurt, okay? As exhausted as you feel, imagine the people who are going to be on the edge of losing everything. And know that you're stronger than they are, so that should invigorate you to find some way to contribute, if that makes sense. No judgment, just do your best. Until then, I will see you next time. Happy 4th, everybody. Not letting them take it away from me. No. You guys are awesome.